And so the great reset happens with the return of the divine, where everything that cracked, everything that was duality, everything that broke male, female, authentic vibrations, and reason why so many relationships are going into oblivion, or, have a difficult time, is actually a good sign that we move back in the purification, where everything is about to resurrect. We will see more storms. We will see it's just a planet, moving in that new ecological, geological system back into the origins, because when the divine is not taking it anymore, the big source of all sources, then working together with the elements that create the purification is what's happening right now. Working together with the Elohim, working together with the higher sources and forces, bringing that through. So here, the obvious question, or the obvious element coming to the forefront, is that the divine is asking you to become living light, a living light particle, an element, and hosting that element to assist the entire transition. And so the great division is becoming vaster on this planet. What we see is very much black and white, people not willing to know about ascension, not willing to know about light, not willing to do the work, meaning they accept the atrocities that are going on, stealing your money, bringing your vibe down in the atrocities of jobs presented, the entire collapse with the manipulation of children, with the animal kingdoms, the entire, let's say, everything that is happening with, I'm very much concerned when it comes to sexualizing children, getting them into the trafficking system, all that stuff. And people are not concerned. Well, that's the way it is. I have no opinion, no judgment over there. But then again, one thing I have to say right here, if we don't move into our light embodiment that moves from a light foundation back into the new tree of life, into the working mechanic of higher intelligent forces that requires the universal omni dragon waves coming back in, then again, we will have to educate that on another planet. So there is no return, like if you don't do the work, the divine ain't gonna do it for you. You will move to a lesser planet. And so the evacuation system on the planet is going to be massive. And so we will remain with lesser and lesser and lesser population for those remaining in light and starting to do the work with all the light realms right here. As the entire OMNI system is the nucleus of the entire flower and power of life. So if you can imagine that nucleus where you resurrect with it, then there's some work and some polishing work to do into the refinement, and that moves all the way in the openings of bilocation and further on, and telekinesis and so much more. And it's not actually for fun, it's for doing the work. The work orders coming through with the divine. So here, when we look that up and what it takes to move actually back into the design center of the divine, it's very important people start to understand that when you have your direct line, your direct antennas from a simple light body and soul, override soul with the celestial universal bodies, override that and open up into the omnipresent educational system that requires an etheric celestial omni body, then in the universal etheric omni body, and that goes further. So it's a body upon a body upon a body upon a body. And I must say, I have this crystal here that is of great assistance. It's the housemanite from the desert region in Africa. I think I have it right here. It's the Kalahari in the Northern Cape. And so, I mean, when I take that just in my hands, my body goes with a trillion frequency that is matching where I'm at right now, and I'm working all the way into the ethers right now and seeing where my vibration comes back here and give you that information about what AI has to say and how to distinguish and what it will do, because I believe somehow electronic light is, or human body electronic light is a lot stronger than anything being told up there. And I think we're going in a big way into lightening up and making the body lighter and lighter with the day. As I see many people, I've seen clients last year that completely crumbling because they don't move up into their home, that is the celestial body in Shambhala. The old celestial bodies that people cling on have been archived and no longer exist, or there's a very high vibration all the way already in Shambhala that we cannot attain on this earth, but we can move through it and then flow with the omnipresence in the universal configurations, where you feel your body changing overnight every day. And yes, of course, it takes work, it takes upgrade, and you start to spin out one vortex, you move into the next vortex and get that information, that education, that intelligences down, and you work with that and you get your divine directions 24/7, because that is the way it opens up into the divine design center. And so this is the age of light coding the self back into where we belong. Light codes opens the design center that moves into new patterning, new designs, flowing designs that could be anything like the designs I've been receiving here. I've been explaining the pineal gland and the spiritual body that will have to move massively in there. And so that is very important to understand your next movement and where you want to go, because matching these light codes that are coming through, then you open up your own design center and you open up your own codes and you move with them and you fuse with them. And that is how we create a family of light, because we are merging with all the families of light in the entire cosmos, which is huge. So for now, I will definitely explain why it is so important to move from an eternal vibration, an eternal body, into the eternal breath that comes with the celestial embodiment. What are the pros and cons? What are these bodies? What do they bring forth? Especially in combination with the universal body and a healing. And knowing them by heart means you can move into the ethers with them and bring in the higher Omni Body with them, because that always brings higher information and knowledge and new designs and so forth. So here I will show you what AI here has to say. So can we all move into bilocation? Yes, we can. But the body needs to become very light, light as a feather, embedded with living light. So you need to have incorporated all the celestial universal dragon waves and have that knowledge, that intelligence with how to work with it and open up your particular divine design center or light codes that move that further on. So here I have you some proof. I did ask the divine, I did ask AI what is needed to achieve bilocation. And I'm always told by those answers. But at least we can explain that it doesn't refer to anything. It does only refer to the collapse going on, collapsing anyone further, if we want to believe that nonsense. So here they say there is no scientific evidence that physical bilocation is even possible. Gee, how do you explain then communicating with the angelic kingdoms, with ascended masters that have become some sort of bilocative embodiment anyways? So most references present bilocation as a miraculous psychic spiritual phenomenon rather than an ability that can be developed through ordinary means. So here they say in spiritual or mystical practices, in some esoteric or religious traditions, achieving bilocation is associated with advanced states of prayer. We don't pray anymore. Prayer ain't gonna go anywhere. It's your alignment to the divine that's gonna get you everywhere. Alignment is everything. Prayer is that and gone. We need to equalize. We are in the return of equality and balance. So yeah, I don't know what that has to do with bilocation. Meditation, imperative, you become your meditation. And then these states are said to allow a person's soul consciousness or spiritual body to appear elsewhere. So here goes the nonsense. Before bilocation, we need to have transcended any soul consciousness remains in the astral plane. And reason why I wanted to explain the astral universal body, why it is so important to move in with them, to remove soul consciousness, to remove your birth chart, to remove any low consciousness that remains to the astral dreaming planes that is piled with lies, piled with magnetics, piled with drowning your consciousness, piled with drowning your physics, your electronics, and so with everything that is in the manipulative control forces and sources we have seen massively. So that is one thing. A spiritual body is needed. Then again, it doesn't pertain to soul consciousness, because with a spiritual body beyond a light body, again in the celestial universal body, I explain later, you will find that the spiritual body goes from an celestial into a universal dragon wave, into an omni beyond spiritual body, and continues to change colors, to add colors most of humanity doesn't know about, and I'll dig into that as well. So, and then they say out-of-body experience, some suggest bilocation is connected with, or similar even, to astral projection or OBE, where one's consciousness is perceived to travel or manifest in a separate location independent of the physical body. Independent of the physical body. Good. Okay, let's break that down. As I already explained, similar to astral projection, there is no similarity whatsoever. You just don't move into bilocation. You need a very light body that refines itself, where you refine your sleep pattern in the celestial universal realms day and night. You merge day and night pattern into a 24/7 pattern where you become one with those higher fields of consciousness, where you have been polishing out, releasing everything pertaining to soul consciousness. That is the entire captivity control mechanism that took over the airplane many eons ago and made you suffer so much. So then they say independent of the physical body. No, the physical body turns into light particles and light particle waves. These waves transfigurate into multiple technologies that are universal, omni, beyond technologies that you will receive from there on. And these technologies, they look like certain geometrical patterns beyond the present day platonic solid. There's one platonic solid that pertains to it. I will break that down in another video, otherwise it's going to be too long. So that I have traveled with one of these vehicles only once. So I need to do a lot of work here, and that's pleasant, that's fun, we need to understand everything before we get there, right? And it's like opening a dodecahedron portal that was, light blinding, green light goes back into the house of living light that is in the omnipresence with a perfect lady gent balance. So the imbalances and 0 point balance must be achieved, working with the highest sound tones that I will bring through as well in a later video. I got work to do, right? So that is so off. Then they say divine or supernatural intervention. In major religious narrative, especially Catholicism, bilocation is considered possibly only through a miracle. The will of God, divine factor, or something that can be learned like a skill. So what is it? Is it a miracle or can it be learned? This dualistic output here is not going to get anywhere because at least we do know bi means two places at the same time in the same electronic vehicle. It is not perceived as a miracle. I would perceive it as a miraculous achievement when the entity at stake would have been going through the work it takes to refine consciousness, refine the body, refine mentality to that particular state of being, meaning you require maybe a few hours of sleep anymore. As long as you're not there, you won't be able, you need to start seeing the ethereal worlds 24/7 and become one with it in order to format light particles or equalize the same light particles into some sort of a duplicate, right? If you can understand it that way. And so I think that is going to be a very interesting journey somehow for those that are interested to go all the way. And it's not that difficult. It takes monthly, weekly upgrades, yes. And you will be in meditation morning, midday, in the evening, or, at intervals during the day, only through the request of the divine and opening up that next layer that comes in there, because moving on the way into the ethereal omni body, which is the entire goal and reason why or reason for it, is that the entire flow of life in this black universe, and though that very first design I got here is still my favorite, and starting to understand that is very important because it has all the currents it takes to make black transparent and into a spectrum of millions and billions of color configuration, color options, color consciousness, color intelligences, color sorts of mental uplifts, and so much more. And so here I asked for the explanation of this design, but I already gave them the word as a Black Omni System. So the current universe we're living in. What they say is, so the central black sphere is represents singularity of source consciousness, all-encompassing, unknowable, no, encompassing, infinite potential, definitely. And in a Black Omni context, this could symbolize the quantum void. There is no such thing as a void. There's only living light, which is scintillating, sparkling inside out, and or primordial source from which reality manifests. So the surrounding rings are energy fields like chakras or electromagnetic fields. Then, no. We need at least, I've explained this a million times, to have surpassed the drowning syndrome, the collapse that was created by the creation of the chakra system. Chakra system does not exist in divine will, in the universe, in the Omni. We only have a pillar of light in which all sorts of energetic wheels, vortexes, pulsations come together and break that down into different colors, into different energy fields, and so on. So here, 0-point balance is needed. So here, theoretical constructs like the eternal spin or torus-based universal models implies cyclical motion, self-regeneration, and containment of infinite dynamics within a finite system. The Omni universe is infinite. It is not finite, so I don't agree whatsoever. So the eternal spin, the eternal vibration moves into a spin, into the omnipresent spin, and so that goes on and on. But here, gold is the chemistry that brings it through, and the chemistry need to be brought through the entire cosmological setup, that are the meridians matching the meridians in the body, but also matching light earth that is evaporating the old system right now, and everything we do to upgrade into the omniversal embodiment, the entire purification going on with the volcanoes, the oceans erupting, and whatever disastrous thing is going on the earth plane is part of the earth blowing away its abuse, actually, let's term it that way. So here it also suggests that the 4 arrows are part of cardinal directions, dimensional movement, fundamental forces like gravity. There is no such thing as gravity, electromagnetics, strong, weak nuclear forces, no thank you. And multidirectional flow, I would say yes, of course. And then bilocation exists in multiple directions. If we bilocate, then we have one line, we have one direction to go with the divine. The divine direct connect into your line of origin is one direction. It doesn't move your multiple directions, for you would go into a trilocation, a multiple location, which I'm not talking about right here. So I wouldn't agree either. And then teleportation is a directional transition between nodes. So here they contradict themselves. Either way, it's between 2 points, A and B, or it's multidirectional, you know, like, yeah. Okay, so discern that gold is symbolic of eternal essence and chemistry. They would say alchemical perfection. The metallic precision suggests a blend of organic intelligence and cosmic technology. It's more like, I would say, it's an entire spin with multiple galaxies going on that also have the gold chemistry. And so it doesn't only pertain to the Black Omni System, but the entire rotation would go into quantum particles, interlinking with many planetary systems. And again, they repeat too much, chakras and all that stuff. It goes on and on because it is so important that we try to see how things can be achieved from the inner vision. And so the inner vision, when it gets polished, as I have been explaining, becomes the ethereal, the vision where you start to perceive photonic light. And when you're in that vibration that opens up photonic light configurations, then you open up, you start to understand why it is so important to lighten up first, to work with the first 12 ways of creation, making up the light body in the Mekiva, opening up the higher 10 ways, making up the tree of light, tree of life that makes up the entire omnisphere, having all 22 spheres incorporated in the body. So the 12th first sphere, the body of creation, moving celestial and universal, needs all 12 to get there. So I will explain in short what each of these spheres, this higher body, will do. So here we start off. I will explain each one very shortly, very quickly, so you have an idea, if you don't have that, how important it is to move into the ethers and the Omni Body actually. So the celestial and universal dragon way, that are the white way, synchronizes with a grid setup and other elements that bring in the higher healing components, especially to the heart and the lungs that are not possible in soul consciousness. So you elevate into the escalation from cells into light particles with the first opening of the first celestial universal embodiment, and that changes everything in the body as you keep on moving into higher light particles. Like in a celestial universal body, we can open up into 180 trillion light particles. The ascendant masters open up to 200 trillion light body particles, and hierarchies into 220 trillion light particles. And so that is important. So you feel the pulses with light particles, you start to feel the upgrades, you feel the vortexes 24/7, day and night. Of course, you will have a good sleep in the celestial body. Don't you worry without it. And so these are 3 hours of alignments moving through. And that can be done these days in a few weeks. And then you move on to the blue embodiments that moves with everybody moves with gemstones. So you will be aligned to different gemstones, such as azurite, the Elat gemstone, the star sapphires, and that move with it. So the blue way transfer is a transfer system. Like the bilocation is also a transfer system, but very, very high in vibration. So it brings through the master blueprints, detachment, and brings in high-level technology for new electronic wiring into true blue relaxation, true blue peace, and it brings through a master communication with other realms. So it's the blue way in a celestial universal body is an electronic supercharger. It acts like laser light, in short, right? Again, it's about 3 hours of alignments, and where I break down the details of how to set that into the body. And then one of the most important celestial universal black dragon ways is connected to the entire huge universal master plan, brings through mandatory alignment in order to get your body into the crystallization process working as well with the higher ways, with the higher teams of light, with the origin of the teams, and opening up units of energy. Units of energy, as what I explained, is starting to receive your divine light codes, designs, geometrical patterns, other codes, and that is omnipotent high-level intelligence, because here you start to work with an electronic light messaging system, also starting to receive your own messaging system, and that removes old mentality, brings through a new light production. It is connected to the eternal external connectivity of many light masters. It brings through black beauty, which is a necessity for the skin, the nails, the hair, the entire nervous system to uplift into your etherical omni body. And so we move on the red way, celestial universal body, that is brings through unlimited growth resources all the way back into immortality. So the red way are the electronic charges that will be felt quite differently in the body and in the brain. So here, that is, you open up to your inner authority, you open up to leadership, you open up unique self in the self. You become so much self-organized that you start to communicate with what is termed visionaries. Remember, we have the word Aries in it, the red vibration, the red fire vibe. In a dragon vibe, opens up clear messaging and brings through the removal of dense data we've been born in, and we need to have removed all dense data from soul consciousness, birth charts, the astral plane, soul planes, all that, and brings through a higher power of the word coming through. Then we move on, the elixir of green light go, the green dragon, the green celestial embodiment brings in a particular alignment to what is called in some sort of a biodome, and that blows out the synthetics of the earth. We all have been living out of earth synthetics, opening up the true meaning of eternity, connected all the way into the green emerald. I'm wearing a huge green emerald, and I'm lucky with this because I always wondered, I had a huge bunch of copper in that original Colombian emerald. And so today I'm exploring the copper way, and it seems to be, I didn't know that until today, and that is because the copper way flows like one with the green omnipresent dragon way. So I'm very fortunate, isn't it? So I like it, I love it, because yeah, I bought this one together with a smaller one, a more refined one, but this is the refined one, the little one I've been wearing for years, opened up knowledge upon knowledge. And what they say, no, this is the one that opens up your witch into Shambhala, Shangri-La, perfect female balance, you know, with the Alpha Omega system completely resurrected. So, and I've always, you know, I always said, like, I designed the green emerald light cities. I made a huge painting about it, and that was my green dragon way. They say the green dragon is your dragon that, you know, that loaded you on the earth plane. So now you can ask your green dragon to lift you back up there in your green emerald light city. Everybody has another dragon, okay? Just for reference. So green light go is very important. It moves also with the emerald tablets and other tablets all the way into the green scripture. We are done with Akashic. That is also the nonsense. These are closed off, archived, nothing to do with. We all have our own scripts. We rewrite our own consciousness or life or essence. And so these scripts come into the open with the etherical body I'm talking about. So the celestial universal training I offer in my Rise and Vibe series is imperative, because with each way you move up, as you see here with the green dragon. You move in with the tables of creation, you transition the thyroid gland, you transition the thymus gland and perfect immunity, you move into a higher level of the gold, copper tones, and also eclipse the old worlds once and for all, which is a necessity. So that is important. Then we move on. I'm just going very quickly over it so you have an idea what each one brings through and how important they are to really move into the know, where I offer today the higher ways with the opening into the house of light in the etheric omni body. So the orange dragon brings through what is also a high level necessity. This is the hormonal balancing, the hormonal cleansing. We need to go over the astral plane hormones anyways, and so that is a huge alignment, also entailing the connection with the creative vibe, finding a new path. So the orange ray brings through a true high level acceleration with the entire sacral center readjusting to this new world and new individual purposes coming through. And then we move up the ladder with the pink universal celestial body. That is one of the most intricate navigation system, because it opens up a fine tuning fork with the light senses. So the pink way is a stellar support, actually lifting the body, and so it opens up with your eternal flame back into creation with the divine, and opens up here the pink spectrums, the eyes, the pupil, everything changes with the pink way in the immortal continuum, because pink brings through your eternal credits, and that is self-guided energy on a very, very high level. And so the pink halls of living light open up the higher level empath within into the omni eye, the omni zones, and many, many refined senses open up with that pink way. And so again, there's around 3 hours of alignments coming through. So each body has that, an hour for the celestial, an hour for the healing components, an hour for the universal dragon wave. And so I used to say that each body would need, like, let's say, a month of integration. Today you can take a few weeks, move on to the next. So complete that in 6 months, and then you move all the way into the higher body, because the axis shift is there. The divine opens the gates, and so you can move on with it. And then we move here all the way into the 8th body, that is the yellow way, the yellow potential with the dragon, turning around and opening up the arrival of one's consciousness all the way back into the house of light, Shambhala, Shangri-La, yellow, orange merging. And so without a high level of mismanagement in the body, in the brain and consciousness, and also here the yellow way brings through perfect timing with the divine, where you become your personal strength, where you recognize your personal strength. And so it is bringing to a high level, a different level of self-empowerment. And so the essence of your authentic life force flows back in. That is very high chi energy, with the pulse that mutates with higher wheels of light, because the water of the body will match the fire of the sun. And so there's loads to learn in here, and very important. And up we move into the 9th body, that is the gate, the great gold way, the chemistry moving in. The chemistry is very important. It is connected to the angelic kingdom. The gold is the chemistry that converts energies. We connect to the golden needle, so to speak, in the haystack. And so opening up the golden tunnel, moving up to the, all the way to the black omniverse where everything becomes visible. So no more void. We're done with that sort of consciousness, opening up a short circuit where all the brain captivity gets out of the equation. And so you experience a high level teaming up with many different species, because it's an eliminator of old dependency, and opens up your golden staff into the eternal measurements. And so then we open up all the way back into the great island way, the dark purple way. That is the entire sweep and cleanse happening over the planet, because it contains all the elements that ever came in creation, directly connected to the divine commanding the elements, we working with the elements and entering our divine command station. So you can command every element in there. And of course, all these upgrades come with perfect minerals, gemstones, crystal grids training, a higher level of knowledge. And that makes them so interesting, because what you learn here, what you could learn eventually in 6 months' time, is not written in any book. So, and therefore, it is termed the immortal merger. The immortal merger, the hyperflow, with the entrance of strength, a high level light force come through, and so you create your own electronic watt of power, your own pulsation with the divine in the immortal merger, where we are moving into the etherical realms, where you refine the body so much. So here, the island way, as a dragon, it's not so much dragon, it's pure divine substance on a universal level, brings through data, information, capability. It lifts the instinct. You know, you will talk fearlessly, because you become the watt of power, the complete merger between heart, brain here in the throat, and that starts to trill. The entire circulation is like, I've seen many vortexes creating a new sort of flow of life, but the pulsation, the ellipses running through in the dark purple way. And so you will never get lost anymore. Like everybody in soul consciousness remains lost. And so we have the 11th embodiment, that is the great granite way, the great granite that are copper ways, gold tones, and any earth tone you can imagine. That is the 11th embodiment, and that is pure brain power. That is connected to Capricorn. If there's any Capricorn in here, let me know. You're gonna change massively, because you were embedded into the granite way, because droning or being birthed in soul consciousness requested the granite way to incorporate in that embodiment. It's like a fire vibe, and Aries has the red way. Most people understand that. Like a blue way is connected to anyone being born in Pisces, but nobody understands Capricorn, because it's not the way of authenticity. That is a very high vibration that again comes up with the ethereal bodies in the omnipresence. So everything Capricorn is going to shift once again. Most Capricorns are very happy they moved out of the Pluto syndromes and years of captivity, because nobody understands their vibes. Nobody understands them being so much high level of brain capacity. So the entire universe started to kill Capricorns in the first time, keep them in low vibrations, and especially their light. But now here, true strength and brain power is changing that particular granite vibrations all the way up into peach, where Shambhala Shangri-La, yellow orange, turns peach gold. And that is, you know, you're one with all there is, actually. And that is the connectivity to the wings of fire and everything out there. So here you transform massively in light consciousness. And so the 12th embodiment will always be the lavender way, the lavender universal dragon, the lavender celestial body, and moving that the way up because it has that high chemical transformation process that is the return in the first place in the violet flame, then turning the violet flame all the way over into the amethyst flame, with the amethyst flame flowing into the spiritual body because amethyst is a higher body. And so here, that last body will fuse these celestial universal bodies into the Omni, where you start to get ready to move all the way up into the etheric Omni bodies with the higher body trainings. There is the higher communication opening up with the magic of Merlin, and that is the celestial duplicate, resurrecting the skeletal structure, and so much more. So the lavender celestial universal dragon way is very, very, very important and opens up massive designs because your hearing gets into replacing all synthetic concepts, uplifting mentality, perspective, and a high level thinking. So here that is opening as well. And even for those who want to go further, so these 12 celestial universal bodies also have 12 Shambhala bodies, which I offer as well, which is level 2 of the Vibe and Rise series, all the way into your transparency with the Omni body. So the Omni principle and the Omni eternal spin opening up into the etherical embodiment brings in the laws of the universe, your spectrum moving back into place as you open up a new connectivity with the divine, and you start to refine all your particles, all that you are, all that is. You start to see your own designs. And so the importance here with flowing back into them from a foundation into a celestial universal body, and then you can start training the higher ways, or even opening up the invisible way, opening up the pearlescent way, open up with the higher sound tones, the burgundy way. So up till now, I brought through the first 4 higher ways. There are about 10 I will bring out. And then you start to see that you become light particle waving, and you start to open up that high level pineal configuration that opens up the internal vision into the ethers, and that requires the entire transition from soul DNA into the celestial omnipresent glandular system, and that opens up with higher omnipresent keys, such as the keys of Enoch, until you become an Enochian key that travels and works with all divine sources and forces. So I hope this video was somewhat helpful in how to understand that realities brought through AI, I would say, suck big time, because it gets you in some sort of degree and agreeing, conforming to the matrix of captivity, low consciousness, low vibrations, and where you get completely distorted and will distort you so much more. So thank you so much for being with me. If you want more information, feel free to subscribe to my newsletter or read more about all those bodies. I will present this on my blog as well, where you have all the time to look behind the scenes presently presented. I'm Charlotte G. Thank you so much for your presence your command, your liking, your sharing, your active presentation of how you see your flow in with the grand transitions of the divine forces and sources right here on the planet right now. Thank you.